Here we go then, round number 2 of the season for the VCRL Formula 1 series for 1994 Formula 1 cars. So the grid is set out with 9 cars on the grid, with pole position being the number 2 car of Owen Potter, alongside the number 8 McLaren of Adam Turner. Row 2 we see the 26 Ligier of Liam Foreman, who didn't race at Imola, and alongside him the 28 Ferrari of Wayne Pearson, another non-show at Imola a couple of weeks ago. Behind them on row number 3 I should say, is the number 32 Simtech of Mark Clayton, alongside him the number 9, the Footwork Ford of Roy Anderson, who did indeed appear at Imola, had a huge accident at Untitled, I think it was. Row number 4 is Ronan O'Brien in the number 29 Sauber. Alongside him is Max Clayton in the number 31 Simtech. At the back of the grid we see Ted McGrath in the number 30 Sauber. So just the 9 cars on the circuit, a slightly reduced field from the previous outing at Imola, and well, we're in for what could possibly be either a classic or a complete procession around Silverstone as Silverstone normally is. So, any predictions going out for this one? I highly think it's someone from the front row.
Yes, it looks more like it's going to be a... Oh, and we are off. We are racing, and it is a little bit of a shaky start at the back there. Yes, a couple of cars have gone off. It looks like one of the Saubers and Wayne Pearson in the Ferrari there.
Yep, we've got a bit of a lag spike there, probably from Ted McGrath because of Irish internet problems. But they head into the Maggots Beckett's complex for the first time. Somebody going off the road to the right of the screen there. That is, I think that's the footwork, and round it goes. Bye-bye. That's a spin already for Roy Anderson. I think that was in the footwork, number 9. Another in problems as well. That's one. The Simtech's a huge accident off in the runoff area. The British blocked it, unfortunately, but that was, I think, one of the Saubers going off the track. That was probably Ted McGrath in his Sauber. Or was it Simtech, sorry. No, it was the Sauber. But your leader in the early stages is the Rothmans Williams of Owen Potter in the early stages.
Yeah, so we come up to the reprofiled Abbey chicane as it was in 1994 to slow the cars down into a left-hander hairpin, and then round the right, head down a bridge. So it's still Potter in the lead, Turner in second in the McLaren, and it looks like Foreman in third in the Ligier.
Yes, very much so. Very competitive grid of Formula 1 cars here, and here they come into the left-hander of Brooklands, looking for the inside, and Turner gets around the outside. A bit of a slide on there from the McLaren. That's the pit garage, isn't what we want to see on the track. It's like ITV again. But down the main straight into the right-hander at Woodcote, and down the home straight back towards Cops, the first corner, which is no longer the first corner, unfortunately, here at Silverstone. It was a much better first corner than what we have now, I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's a very tough corner indeed. Down the 5th gear, you've got to get it. It's almost flat. A little bit of a lift through the middle, and a little bit of a swapper on there to go around Maggots for the Williams of Potter, and it has allowed Turner to catch up. Could he get the move done down in the Stowe?
Possibly. They're now slipstreaming down towards still on the Hanger Straight, obviously famously because there was actually a hanger here at one point, and Turner's looking around the outside of the Stowe. It's a brave move, but unfortunately there isn't a gap. In fact, cut back on the inside. It's side by side out of the Vale in towards Club. Left-right chicane at Club, and Potter still holds the lead on the inside. He's run off the track a bit there, and Turner goes round the outside, and around the outside at Club he goes, and takes the lead of the race as they head towards Abbey once again for the second time.
Yeah, it looks like Potter got a little bit too brave on the brakes, outbraked himself, and went off, and that just allowed the McLaren to come through with ease.
Yep, it was very much an easy one. Still in third place, I think, is the Ligier of Liam Foreman, who's really well in this one. Like I say, he was one that did not appear a couple of weeks back at Imola. Fourth place at the moment is, who's that? That's number 26. Sorry, not number 26. That's who is that actually? I can't see the number on the car.
The 29, Ronan O'Brien in the Sauber. And he's going around all right. He did show up at Imola. He had quite an interesting race there. A couple of accidents, but he seems to be going around all right, hounding Foreman for third.
Yes, I seem to remember from his appearance at Imola, he had somewhat a lot to do with blocking one of the leaders when he was getting the blue flags, but there you go. That's sometimes the nature of Formula 1. You don't always get the most strict drivers. Here's Roy Anderson in the footwork. Let's put it this way, Roy is not quite at home in one of these things, as that has just been the point proved there as he goes for a bit of grass cutting there I think that's Club Corner. So not Club. That was Luffield.
Luffield.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Luffield. He's just got hooked up on the curb and it threw him off. These cars are very hard to drive. No driver aids allowed,
And we've got a car
as
in
it
the
was in the.
pits.
And I think, who is that? That's the 32 of one of the Claytons. They've locked out the Simtech team, but he's obviously in the pits for repairs.
Yes, number 32 is Mark Clayton, I think the father of Max. It's a father-son team, that one. Same as it is in the touring cars, because they both hold out the two Honda MSD racing machines in that formula. And at the front now, Adam Turner has extended the lead a little bit now as they come into what I believe is the Priory Brooklands complex at the end of the lap, down by the clubhouse.
Yes, indeed. It seems the gap hasn't really increased or reduced, really. They all seem to be going around at the same sort of speed. And, well, I'm sort of think Potter's just waiting for a mistake to happen on Turner's part, but it doesn't look like it's coming anytime soon.
And one of the Ballards goes flying across the runoff area there. The Marsh driver will go and pick that up at the end of the race. That Simtech car is in the pit lanes. That must be going for some fairly substantial repairs. I suspect that may be one of the cars that hit the barrier on the first lap of the race, but I'm not entirely sure on that one.
Well, a lot of people crashed in on the first lap. It gets very hectic here, especially with the short run up to turn one and the fast complex that we're seeing now, which the Ligier is going through. Hard to do on cold tyres straight off the start, and an accident, was more than likely going to happen.
Yeah, and another challenge for these drivers as well is there wasn't an installation lap for them to get heat in the tyres either. I should point out we do always do standing starts for our 1994 Formula 1 cars. No historic Formula 1 Masters here with rolling starts because we don't have to worry about replacing the clutches on the cars afterwards.
No, it's standing start as it would have been back in '94, and there's obviously a massive mistake on O'Brien's part because he's just lost about 30 seconds onto the Ligier, which a lap before he was all over. So obviously a mistake further on.
Clearly, yes, but it certainly seems as if we've managed to get ourselves into a rhythm at the moment of. I think there's only 8 cars left circulating because Ted McGrath had a massive accident down at Chapel on the first lap, which lost him his front wheel, unfortunately. So his race was fairly short-lived, a grand total of about 5 corners. Still more than Romain Grosjean's normal appearance in a Formula 1 car, but still not brilliant for the Irishman on that occasion.
And we look at one of the Simtex now. I think that's Max Clayton in the 31, the teammate of the one we saw in the pits. And he's going around all right. I think that's in 5th position, just going around. Not what more you can do. There's no other cars around him. Just keep it on the road, bring it home.
Yes, which is what he didn't manage to do at Brands Hatch on Thursday night when Nigel Foster spun in front of him and he ended up T-boning the spinning Renault Laguna. But when there's a Renault Laguna in front of you at Brands Hatch, sideways, there's not a huge amount you can really do about that.
No. It looks like Potter's closed in a little bit on the McLaren, or I could just be seeing things. But
no, you're not.
It's still the McLaren in the lead, and it has got closer.
Yes,
but not close enough to launch an attack.
Yeah, the gap has certainly closed in the past 2 or 3 laps of racing. And, I think in the closing laps, this could be a bit closer. Obviously, nothing we need to look at here as well as backmarker traffic, because we know from the experience at Imola that the backmarkers aren't always the most courteous of people, as we had 2 incidents in that race with one of them in Ronan O'Brien, and there was another one that also was causing problems. I think it was Matthew Saboni in the Ferrari on the final lap blocking Kevin van den Bosch whilst he was fighting for the race lead.
Yeah, there's quite poor standards there from the drivers being lapped at Imola, but this isn't Imola, this is Silverstone. It is a longer lap here, a much spread out lap. As you can see, the car's getting more spread out, and Turner has pulled away from the Williams. But back to the blue flag things, I think we will soon, but there's enough room here to get past without any issues.
Yeah, you'd hope so. Obviously, Silverstone, of course, is the first ever official Grand Prix venue, the first ever official venue for Formula 1, which was back in the 1950s, where they basically used the outer perimeter road, then decided to make 2 triangles on the centre with 2 of the runways at the time. So the runways are still there to some extent, but they've now got a load of hospitality on them most race weekends, even if it is domestic formulas as well.
Silverstone is most known by pretty much everyone in the world as the home of British Formula 1. And Formula 1 is a British sport. It started here at Silverstone, and it don't look like it's going off the calendar anytime soon.
He did a few years ago, but the contract was renewed by the FOM, I believe, and that is probably for the best, as I think it's fair to say that Silverstone is so formal. In fact, it looks like the Ligier has just gone over the runoff area there. It looks like it had a bit of a moment coming towards the camera, so that was a bit of an incident at Stowe, I think, for the Ligier of Liam Foreman there. Went over the Foster's beer sign, so yeah.
Yeah, he just, I think he went a little bit wrong down the brakes. It's a hard corner because it's downhill braking, very bumpy, and if you get it wrong, there's a load of runoff for you to get back over and not spin, and that's what he just did there.
Yeah, I think that's what people don't realise about Silverstone. Everyone goes that Silverstone is a very flat track, and yes, by Formula 1 standards it is, but in reality there are some quite steep gradients on it, and the track surface, particularly back in this period, was not exactly the smoothest. I mean, it is a bit better now than MotoGP bikes come here in the current day, and obviously for MotoGP the track must be in perfect condition, otherwise riders sort of go flying 50 feet in the air and land with an almighty crunch, but back in this period, they didn't need to worry about that because MotoGP was not a massive fixture here at Silverstone. It was still held up at Donington Park in Derbyshire at the time. But here we see this is certainly Rowan O'Brien in the Sauber. This is going round Beckett's into Chapel and down the hanger straight towards Stowe.
Yeah, he's just, like I say, most of these drivers out here are on their own, just trying to bring it hoping for the mistake from a car in front. But yeah, it's still just as difficult to keep it on the road than it is to race with someone on the same bit of tarmac. It's a tough track here. We can see the bumps there on the entry to this corner here. And yeah, racing is a completely different form in itself when you come side by side with someone else. But on your own, it's still a difficult challenge.
Yes, indeed. It's certainly not easy to handle one of these beasts around here. And, well, I seem to have managed to find a Ferrari, which is good to see. It looks like Wayne Pearson is still going, despite having that almighty moment. And I think, unless I'm very much mistaken, that's the race leader behind him.
Yes, it is. It looks like we're going to have our first blue flag moment of the race, and it's going to come in the form of Adam Turner and Wayne Pearson, and he moves out of the way as he should.
Yep, that was perfectly good driving from Wayne there. Moved wide at Stowe, let the leader go through. And I think it's fair to say the lead has increased a bit now, as the second place car comes on through now at Club, and that is the top two all clear of that back marker. And the Ferrari can continue on its merry way and try and get some more points. Next car in the line to be lapped will be the Footwork Ford of Roy Anderson, and the leader is coming into the Priory complex now as the lap down car comes into Brooklands.
Yeah, it looks like we'll get him on this. They'll lap him on this lap. He's about to start now, and yeah, Wayne Pearson doing the correct thing, moving out of the way, not holding them up. And yes, the gap has increased from the lead quite drastically. It's now, instead of Owen is just near him. He's now seems to be a whole straight behind. Oh, and there's a spin for the footwork. Round and round, and that's one way they let the leaders past. Probably not the way he intended to do, and they seem to get round all right. But yes, a couple of pirouettes and a few bonus points going in the way of the Scotsman.
Yeah, I think also a new set of underwear for both drivers involved as well might be in order, because that was, should we say, a bit on the close side with that McLaren. There was about millimetres to spare between a massive accident there and a very easy win for the Williams.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse, but the awareness from the McLaren driver was second to none.
Yep, certainly, and obviously Cops is one of the fastest parts of the circuit corner-wise. Obviously the straights, the cars are reaching triple-figure speeds as we nearly lost one of the Simtech cars into the pit lane there, completely accidentally because it almost sped into it.
Yeah, just picking up the power out of these corners here is very tough, and like you say, Cops, he's one of the fastest corners on this circuit, along with Bridges. Turner just goes through now. And Cops is a difficult one. You've got to have a little bit dab of the brakes and change down the gear. If you do that too much, you're going too slow, but you're going too hot, you're over the curb and the race is over.
Yeah, it's very easy to do some such thing in cars as quick as this. Obviously, what people don't realise from Formula 1 cars is the faster you drive them, the more grip they actually have, which is why I don't race them, because when I did them, I wasn't going quick enough, and when I went a bit faster, the car just went on me and I had an even bigger accident than I was having before. But Turner still leads it then. He's got a big lead at the front in that McLaren. You can just see in the background the Williams coming through the Beckett's and Chapel right-left situation. Now, today, that is roughly where we see the international circuit go across the top of the bottom half of the circuit.
Yeah, it's where the international and national layouts all can join together. But this is the full Grand Prix circuit as it would have been used in 1994. And I think I've just heard from the McLaren team, Turner's engine is overheating at high revs. So he's got to try and keep the revs down as he goes down the straight, which is not easy to do because some of these straights are quite long here at Silverstone.
Yeah, it would be less of a problem at Monaco, let's put it this way, where there aren't really any long straights to deal with. It's all corners and he's gone sideways.
Well held. He just got too much curb on the exit of Abbey there, and it almost sent him off into the bridge. Andy Treasures did it in the first time we used this layout in 1991. But this time, the McLaren kept it on the road, but it could have been a lot worse.
Well, it certainly could have been. I mean, we saw, I think it was down on the Hangar Straight a few years ago, Kimi Raikkonen hit one of the bridge supports in his Ferrari at the time. And that could have been very similar there, just at a slightly lower speed.
Yeah, hitting any form of bridge is deadly, and well, we saw it at Brands Hatch in 1988 with Johnny Herbert in F3000, and yeah, the story of Johnny Herbert is quite a brilliant one to think. After he had his pretty much legs removed in an accident at Brands Hatch going around the back, to be racing Formula 1 6 months later, but that's another story for another day. And we've got a race coming on, and I think we're catching up to another back marker. Can't quite tell who it is, but it's still Turner in the lead.
I think it's a Sauber, possibly, so it might actually be the fourth place car of Werner Bryan at this point in time. Now, are we going to see a repeat of Imola between these two, I wonder?
Maybe not, because at Imola, it is Ryan O'Brien, we can see in the Sauber coming up there. But I wouldn't think so. He's learnt his lesson. He received some punishment after the race for impeding leading drivers. And, well, Turner has changed teams since Imola to Silverstone. He was in the Tyrrell at Imola. He's now in a McLaren in the bright red and white livery. McLaren is distinctive to all motorsport fans around the world, and it should make it a bit easier to move out of the way.
Yep. Obviously, I should point out there were a few cars that didn't start today's racing. Pascal Mercure, number 3 in his Tyrrell, didn't get off the start. He didn't make it. Matthew Saboni didn't make it out in his Tyrrell. He collided in the back of the Ferrari of Nigel Foster yesterday in qualifying, which took both of them out of contention this afternoon. So Nigel Foster also a non-starter. Kevin van den Bosch, another no-show as well in the number 7 car. And we also didn't see Scott Kinton take 3 on. So 5 cars from qualifying yesterday did not make it back out for today's racing. So that's a bit unfortunate. We've lost a few cars, and those cars could have made all the difference between what we have now and possibly a more exciting race in the midfield.
Yeah, yes, we needed sort of more of those cars in the middle of the race to just try and make it a little bit more interesting. And there's not been a lot going on in this one, but I'm sure there's quite something about to happen here with these 2 cars, but it's just a back marker, no actual racing as of yet.
No, it's been a bit of a disappointing start to the race here, but hopefully things will come on a little bit stronger in the second half of this one, as the leader has got stuck behind him at Club here. There's not really many places you can move out of the way at Club, and well, there you go, he moves out of the way going round Bridge. That was a bit of a dicey moment. I thought we were going to have a massive accident there for a minute, but we managed to avoid impending doom. And well, the Williams has now got to get past the Irishman in the Sauber in the very near future as they come out of left field and back to the start-finish straight once more.
Yeah, but yet again, that could have been another disastrous accident at the bridge complex. You can see why they removed it for, 2010. But it's still one of the fastest corners on the circuit. It's flat out, 5th gear, downhill, a little bit of curb the wrong way, and, well, you can meet the barrier pretty quickly.
Well, the thing with Bridge Corner is it wasn't just exciting from anything that raced at Silverstone. It was absolutely phenomenal around Bridge Corner because it's created so many classic moments in touring car racing as well over the years. along with various other domestic saloon car and open-wheeled formulas, will run just basically on a weekly basis at Silverstone that nobody actually sees, which is a shame sometimes.
Yeah, no one really see the domestic stuff that does normally happen here at Silverstone because it's not televised, and Formula One, like I said earlier, is mainly the real reason everyone knows about Silverstone.
Exactly.
Well, F1 without Silverstone and Silverstone without F1 wouldn't be a thing. They needed each other to get started.
No, exactly. This is obviously where, like we said earlier, this is where Formula One began. Here's our third place car who's been sitting quietly on the sidelines, and I think we just the car at the pit lane as well there, possibly. Yes, the footwork forward of runs and things going to the pit lane, which is why he didn't get lapped by the two race leaders on the circuit. So he's now got to worry about the Ligier coming up behind him of Liam Foreman. Hopefully he'll move out the way. He will do. That's a good bit of driving from Roy there. Registered the situation, saw the top three car coming and moved out of the way, and is now going himself back up to race pace, and hopefully we'll be able to get some points inside the top six.
Yes, the points being handed out to the top six in this, and sadly, since there was only 8 cars left in this race, only 2 of them not scoring. But the point system is 10, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the top 6 cars, and yeah, only 2 of them are not going to score anything.
Yeah, not quite as big entries at Imola. Did we have 15 cars set to the at Imola a couple of weeks ago? I think we did, didn't we?
Yes, we did. We had 15 cars start the race, and well, only 8 finished. But we're going to have 8 finish this one by the looks of things, but that's how many really started. We did have 9, but 1 went out in like 3 corners.
Yeah, unfortunately, like I said earlier, that Ted McGrath lost it at Chapel on the opening lap. I think it was to avoid actually his teammates spinning in front of him, which is quite ironic, but it happens. That's motor racing, unfortunately. You've got to take it as it comes, and like I say, nothing is scripted in motor racing, apart from Days of Thunder, but that's another story. Your leader is still Adam Turner, though, in the McLaren. Oh, car off the road. Who's gone off there? It was one of the Simtech cars, so I'm not sure who it was, but somebody was in the gravel trap down at Brooklands that time by.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the Simtechs. I don't quite know who it was, but probably got it wrong, and the brakes hit the grass and spun off. Because if you brake on the grass and this, you lose all grip to the wheel that's on it, and it can send the car off in whatever direction it desires.
I mean, we've already seen that today with Roy Anderson getting a wheel on the grass coming out of Cops and going into Cops, and doing a spin. That is something we've already seen in this race today, and I think it's been seen over the weekend in both practice and qualifying. Of course, I have not seen anything in practice and qualifying this weekend, but I'm sure you probably have seen a few people do it in those sections earlier on.
Even in the warm-up session just before this race, people were experimenting with lines going in too wide and just dabbing the grass and spinning off. It's very easy to do.
Indeed, it certainly is very easy to do, as I think we're going to be seeing a lap car very soon. Well, by the fact the leader's coming towards Bridge, whilst this one is in final complex around Luffield, I think we could be seeing only 2 cars left on the lead lap very shortly, as the Ligier only went for a spin going around Luffield. That seems to be a place where a lot of cars are getting themselves a little bit lively on the back end.
Yeah, it's similar to Tozer at Imola. There's a bump on exit where you want to accelerate, and it's slightly cambered to the inside as well, where you can see there's a different bit of tarmac in there. That's also bumpy, so it's making it real difficult for these cars to get on the accelerator. So you've got to be a little bit patient, pick it up nice and gently, and you'll get a smooth run down to the straight.
Certainly, it's got to be that way, as Potter is still trying to catch that McLaren. He's throwing it at the curbs. That was quite twisted the line. He was thinking, I thought we were going to go down the national circuit for a minute. It would be one hell of a way to catch the leader, I guess. Got out half the lap.
Yes, the curbs are very vicious over that section of track, and if you get too many wheels over it, it just pulls you in whatever direction. That looks what happens with the Williams there. It looks like we're coming up to lap 1 of the footworks of Roy Anderson, who's had, well, quite a miserable race. He's been lapped already twice and he's had a spin, but that happens, and it looks like he's moving out of the way as he should and let Turner past.
Cones of a moment on the left-hand side.
Yes, he's knocking over all the cones as well.
Oops.
And Potter's just revving into him. That was some terrible driving there from the Williams part. I don't know what he was thinking. I think he just wanted all the track, including the bit Roy was on, and Roy was half off it.
Yeah. No, well, that's Formula 1 for you. Still cleaning the Sebastian Vettel's appearances in the past 3 years, though. The Ligiers now could slap the Ferrari. Never thought I'd say that sentence in Formula 1. That's never been said before, I don't think. But he's going to lap the Ferrari of Wayne Pearson, who's recovering after a collision with Ted McGrath in the very early stage of the race, before even crossing the start line, to be honest. It was before they even crossed the start line. The Ligier goes through Wayne Pearson, keeps to the left, or the right-hand side of your screen anyway, as they went down into Hanger Straight.
Yep, the Ferrari moving out of the way as he is due to do, being lapped, and unlike Imola, we are seeing very courteous back markers. They are moving when they should.
Yes,
which is always good for the drivers who are on the lead lap and don't want to lose much time passing back markers like being held up, as we saw in Imola.
Yes, those cones on the left-hand side are going to get very distracting, aren't they? As they come through then again, this is through Club, and we are currently on lap number 17 of racing in this race of the Formula 1 cars. We'll be lap number 18 very, very shortly, as the leader is coming into bridge, the final complex of the circuit, once again.
Yep, about to complete lap 17 and go on to lap 18. 25 lap races here at VCRL for Formula 1. And yeah, just races vary from like half an hour to 45 minutes in race length on a Saturday and Sunday evening, where qualifying happens on the Saturday and racing and warm-up on the Sunday. And lap 18 starts now. And let's try and watch this one on board if we can with Turner. I doubt there is any onboard cameras with these cars. There
is here, look.
Here we go. And as we go round Maggotts and Beckett's into the Chapel complex now, about to head onto the Hanger Straight. This is also a difficult acceleration zone because it goes away from you, the track does. Now down the Hanger Straight, long straight, underneath the bridge, up into 6th gear, approaching almost 200 miles an hour before the brakes as you went into Stowe. Now turns in, late apex, ran the cut. Oh, someone's off the track there. I think it was Roy Anderson in the footwork, and down into the Vale Club section. And we've got the Ferrari of Wayne Pearson. Ooh, a little bit of a slide on for the car we were on board with. And I think Wayne Pearson has just gone off the track. Yes, he has.
I'm going to have to try and find that on the replay cameras, but I think we've lost the Ferrari. And the footwork's gone off as well. Where's that?
I think he went off in avoidance.
Yeah,
I think he went off in the avoidance because we saw him off the track at Stowe. He probably had dirt on the tyres, and that didn't help him under the brakes. And yeah, shame for the Ferrari. He just went bolt left on the exit of Club, and that's probably because of the acceleration. The car just threw him to the left-hand side.
And Roy looks to be limping back to the pit lane here. There might be some damage to that footwork, possibly. But yeah, he's not in a good place. And the Ligier has just gone a lap down on the charts to our race leader. So there is now just 2 cars left on the lead lap. Yes,
the Ligier moving out of the way as it should, and that is everyone other than Potter, who's been lapped by the McLaren of Adam Turner. Speaking of Potter, there he is now, just coming into the Maggotts and Beckett section. As you can see him go around. Now, all over the curbs, not doing the bottom of that Williams much good. But trying to catch Turner, which it doesn't look like it's happening.
No. I should point out yesterday's pole position time was set by Pascal Curley in the Tyrrell, which isn't here today. He set a 1:24.7. Now, I'm not entirely sure what the leaders are doing in this race, but I think it's a bit slower than that because the cars are sort of different between what they were last night and what they are tonight. Obviously, the qualifying systems are all about 1 lap dash. This, they've got to survive for 25 laps without going boom, basically. So the cars are a bit slower, and they have got the radiators open a lot more than what they would yesterday afternoon.
And also different fuel loads and compound of tyre used for the race. The race, obviously, you try and fuel them up without having a pit stop if you don't need one on one of the hardest compounds of tyre, where in qualifying you fuel it for 3 laps and the softest tyres and go and do your best. Also, you can run more wing in the race as well to help keep you on the road, where in the qualifying you'll run less wing in order to get more speed.
Yes, obviously, the last occasion at the Imola circuit, we did see the race winner, Pascal McKiller, do a one-stop strategy. He got the softest compound of the tyre and light fuel load in the first half, pitted around halfway, did the same for the second half of the race, and because he gained such an advantage in the first half, he managed to come back out of the pit lane about 2 or 3 seconds ahead of the furious second place battle at the time between Kevin van den Bosch and Ted McGrath. Unfortunately, that battle came to an end a few laps later when McGrath spun it, coming out of the final chicane. But your leader is Lantern. I think everybody here tonight is attempting a no-stop strategy unless they get damage at any point in the near future.
Yeah, I think that's the only time we're going to see use of the pit lane is either to retire the car or repair damage, not to refuel and change tyres. Obviously, refueling allowed with these cars, as in 1994 it was, and in 1904 real season we saw some disastrous pit lane fires, especially at Hockenheim, with Jos Verstappen came in the pits and the whole thing went up. So refueling very, very dangerous, but luckily on this we don't have that sort of problem.
No, I think Ross Brawn's description of that incident was the fuel hose became a flamethrower, which is probably very true.
Yes, but there was a few reasons why I did that, but I'm not going to get into detail.
Yep.
And yes, and I think we're going to complete lap 20 or 21 now.
We are now on to lap 21,
so
we're in the final fifth of the race now. So the lap boards are out, 5 laps to go.
Yep, 5 laps to go of this race. And all Turner's got to do now is just keep it on the road and not do anything stupid in order to let Potter catch up at all, which looks like he's doing pretty well. He's done it for the last 20 laps. I'm sure he can do it for another 5.
Yep. Turner, of course, a very accomplished racer on our factor, mainly when it comes to the non-contact short overformers, mainly the national hot rods, which is sort of his forte, really, along with the low-powered 1300cc hatchbacks and the stock rod formula as well. But he's seen a bit of success in both over the past 12 months on our factor.
Yep, our factor, a widely extendable game for mods for circuit short ovals. You mentioned, I don't know what's going on with those cones. I really don't want to know, but they're having a bit of a whale of a time then.
It's the 90s, that explains everything.
Yes, you make a good point there.
Yeah, they're probably playing Reading in the 90s or something on the jukebox or whatever it is. But your leader is still Adam Turner. Coming to lap another back marker. Who is that? It's, I think, on the Simtex, actually.
On the Simtex?
Yeah.
Yes, it is one of the Simtex being, looks like it's about to be, I think that's Max Clayton in the number 31. And obviously Simtech, team hello. That was... and I think that's his teammate off the track there in the other Simtech.
Well, must be, yep. And
it looks like he's got a bent suspension as it's, not going... Oh, he's now in the wall and he's lost a wheel. Race over.
Well...
that was a bit of an eventful first opening couple of corners for that lap.
Yep, the Simtech is now... back a shot. Car off.
I think Potter's ran out of talent. He's gone... Yeah, he has. He spun it across coming out of Chapel. Too much power, and around it went.
And I don't sound like a worst-case scenario person, but I think that's probably decided the race. If it wasn't already over, I think that has basically concluded it all, as that has probably lost around 10 seconds. That's been maybe even more than that.
Yep, that definitely a very costly spin for Potter there, but I don't think it's going to make much difference to the race result. First and second have lapped everyone up the third, and as you can see, the Ligier is coming into shot in the background just as we reach the end of the hangar straight, but he is a lap down. So it looks like it's going to be a clear and decisive win for the McLaren.
Yep, certainly. It looks like McLaren are in the green. They are the dominant race leaders. Well, the leader is coming to Cox now. I think the second place car is going in Luffield, which is half of the national circuit in essence. So if this was British touring cars, on the national circuit, Turner would have a half-lap lead at this point.
Well, this is the full circuit. He almost went off by himself there. I think driver fatigue could be coming into play here. It's getting late in the race. It's obviously ultimate concentration game, keeping this car on the road, let alone race them. And you could see a few mistakes due to the driver's lapse of concentration late on, but yeah, I think it's more the tyres are going off more than the driver himself.
Yes, and the footwork forward is in currently striking distance of the race leader. That is coming through the complex at Club and now up towards Abbey. Once again, now the laps are ticking down now on that number 23, so 2 laps to go this time by for the McLaren that leads the way. Adam Turner, the Williams still holds second place, but is about 30 seconds down the road, which is pretty typical for Formula 1 sometimes. Still, the field is roughly, as a whole, the Ligier is a lap down in third place still, and that car has been struggling for a few laps now on tyres.
Yes, tyres going off around about this point, no matter what compound you have on. Everyone's gone for the softer of the 4 compounds available. And even they... and proof that it does happen. The tyres degrade and get old throughout the run. They start to wear out and he's spun on rejoin as well.
I think he's gone again.
It's not going well for that Ligier. I think the tyres are overheated at where he initially went off. Yep, and he's back going finally. But the tyres overheated as he initially went off, and it's just made it hard to re-accelerate. And they've worn down to a point where you have to be even more careful on the throttle on acceleration.
Yeah, I think that might be the slowest cornering speed through bridge today. The footwork forward has now gone a second lap down, so that's now 2 laps down. Which
I think he might be more because obviously.
He made the pit stop.
Made the pit stop and he was lapped when he spun at Cop, so he might be now 3 laps down. But he's still in the race, unlike some others. Yeah.
Yep, and obviously if there are only 6 cars in the finish and he's the 6th one, he's guaranteed, I think it's an point, isn't it? So.
Yes, a single point, which will be the only point so far scored for the footwork team, and a team and driver who desperately needs some points, even though it's only round 2, but it's only a 6-round championship. So all points scored in the early stages of the season will have a dramatic effect at the end of it. And it'll be nice if the footwork team can score a point in this race.
Yep, and Roy just basically tiptoeing the car home now. And it is now 1 lap to go for your race leader, Adam Turner, in the number 10 McLaren.
Yes, final lap now for the McLaren, and all he's got to do is do what he's done for the past 24 laps and just keep it on the road. Easier said than done, but I'm sure he'll be able to do it.
And I stand corrected, it's the number 8 McLaren, number 10 is his number in touring cars. But down into what I believe is the Hangar Straight. Now, I think there's some action going on further back in the order at the moment. So I'm going to keep a look at the footwork. And that was a good call, because it's now gone off the track. It's regained the track, though. Coming down the Hangar Straight. But I think, on the most part, that is the race pretty much concluded. We'll try and find our race leader again as they make their way through the final few moments. This is going to Club then for your race leader for the final time.
Yep, final time, heading into Abbey now, about going down the bridge, and he drove a brilliant race, and he did well to qualify third originally, but obviously with the 2 Tyrrells not racing, it pumped him up to second on the grid, and he's just taken the lead since lap 2 and held on to it pretty well.
To be fair, that might be a benefit more than anything else. He gave him the inside going to Cox, which can sometimes be a benefit. But here he comes. The checkered flag awaits.
And he comes around Woodkirk now to win the British Grand Prix of 2021 for the 1994 F1 cars. And whoops, there goes the footwork. It doesn't look like he's going to score those points now, or he will, because he might be the 6th car, or the last classified car to finish. So he still might get the points, but it could be a Simtek scoring a point instead. But that is Roy Anderson out of the race on the final lap.
Well, you saw earlier, I made that comment about that bridge being horrible if you hit it, and Roy Anderson's proved my point. It's taken him 25 laps to do so, but he proved it nonetheless. And the Williams comes down for second place. A good result for Williams. This one, they needed that after a pretty shambolic appearance at Imola a couple of weeks ago. And Ligier are going to score a 3rd place and round out the podium.
Now, I don't know if this is for position with that Sauber. I think Ronan might be a lap down, but even if, I think the Ligier's held him off.
Yeah, Brian, I think is 4th place regardless of what lap he's on at the point in time. Nobody else is left circulating behind these 2. These are the last 2 cars to finish. 2 Simtex across the finish line. And that is a good result. And whoopsie!
I think he got a bit bored after that.
Yeah, that was a bit of a saloon stock car move, if you ask me. But a good result for the McLaren of Adam Turner, who is your race winner here at here at Silverstone today. Second place was the Williams of Liam Potter. Third was the Ligier of Liam Foreman. Then it was the Sauber of Ronan O'Brien in fourth. And then I think it was probably the Simtech in fifth. I think it was Max Clayton, who was the highest placed of the Simtex. And I can confirm to you that I think Anderson did get classified as sixth place despite binning it into the barrier on the final lap of the race.
Yep, that is correct. It was the results here is so it's first for Adam Turner, second for Owen Potter, third for Liam Foreman, fourth for Ronan O'Brien, fifth for Mark Clayton. I think that might be a bit of a mistake on the part there, or we got it wrong in the commentary, but it was one of the Simtechs in fifth, Roy Anderson in sixth, claiming that point we were talking about. Seventh is the other Simtech, eighth, Wayne Pearson in the Ferrari, who we saw went out at club, and Ted McGrath, ninth and last in the Sauber.
I don't think Ted even completed the lap, did he? So
no. And that concludes the British Grand Prix of the 1994 cars here at Silverstone. We'll be back for the Formula 1 cars. We'll be back at the end of May, 29th and 30th at Magny-Cours for the French Grand Prix. Meanwhile, at VCRL, we got a couple of British touring car and rallycross events. Rallycross starting on the Thursday, 13th of May at 7 p.m, along with the touring cars a week after for the third and fourth round at Mallory Park.
Yep, and the rallycross cars we'll point out to are going to be at Brands Hatch on the old rallycross circuit that was used for the rallycross Grand Prix for a few years. But yeah, I think that basically sums up everything at the moment. And until the next Formula 1 event, goodbye.